one of the German retaliatory weapons from World War II. A set of two planes connected one above the other, the first of which, a fighter, played the role of a carrier and the pilot's cabin, and the second, a bomber, played the role of an unmanned, remotely controlled flying bomb. The official designation of the set was Beethoven-Gerät, but German pilots called it the unofficial name Father and Son, or Huckepack, Piggyback. The Mistel project was created at the Junkers plant in 1941 on the basis of research work with a new automatic sight that guided the bomber to the target without the need to constantly observe the object after targeting. The originator of the device, aviation engineer Siegfried Holzbauer, after the first test flights of planes with the new sight, concluded that it would be much easier to use it in flying bombs. This is how the concept of a set of two planes was born, the first of which was a carrier, and the second one loaded with explosive material and constituted a self-homing bomb. The Reich Ministry of Aviation was initially unfavorable to the conceptual assumptions of the project, but after analyzing the economic aspects of the new solution, at the end of 1941, it allowed it to be put into production. In 1942, the first Mistel prototype was built at the DFS plant, with the unofficial code name Huckepack. It was a combined Clem 35 training plane and a DFS 230 transport glider. During the tests, the takeoff and landing capabilities of such an unusual flying structure and its flight properties were checked. Due to the insufficient engine power of the sports plane, the Mistel set was towed to the takeoff and taken into the air by a Junkers Ju-52 transport plane. Shortly after the first successful tests, it was decided to change the configuration of the carrier aircraft to the Focke-Wulf FW-56, which had a much more powerful engine. However, the tests proved that in this case, too, a tow was needed before takeoff. The designers then decided to change the plane once again, this time to the Messerschmitt Bf 109. In this arrangement, Mistel flew independently. However, he was unable to lift the glider loaded with explosives. The only German aviation unit that initially had the new weapon was the 4th Division of the KG 101 Regiment, commanded by Captain Horst Rudat. The first combat action using Mistel took place on June 24, 1944. One copy of this set was intended to attack the Allied invasion forces on the Normandy coast. However, the action failed because the German pilot encountered an RAF fighter on the way to the target and was forced to detach the flying bomb and return to the base to avoid being shot down. The second attempt, made on the night of June 24, 1944, was a success. 4 Mistels of KG 101 reached their target and sank the ships moored in the roadstead at the mouth of the Seine. The next use of 6 Mistels in the morning of June 25, 1944, in a raid on the port of Cherbourg was not so spectacular. Only 3 machines reached the target. The rest were shot down. Despite this, the command did not cancel orders for new equipment and ordered the expansion of the unit. On October 10, 1944, KG 101 was reorganized and changed into a special formation, Einsatzgruppe KG 66. On October 20, 1944, the command decided on another reorganization. As a result of this change, Unit KG 200 was created, whose task was exclusively to fly Mistels. The entire formation was kept secret and its purpose was given priority. The training center of this regiment was located far from the front in Stavanger-Sola, Norway. In December 1944, a plan was initiated to transfer Unit KG 200 to Denmark in connection with the planned massive attack by German aviation on Scapa Flow. 60 Mistels were prepared for this purpose. However, weather conditions made it impossible to carry out this project. Mistels usually flew in groups of several planes. They took part in actions independently or were escorted by fighters. The combat flight took place at an altitude of 1,600 meters. At a distance of about 3 kilometers from the target, preparations for the attack took place. After approaching the appropriate distance, when the fighter pilot saw the object in the sight's viewfinder, the mechanism connecting the sights of both planes was activated. The automatic pilot of the bomber, consisting of a system of gyroscopes, set itself to the designated direction. Then the fighter pilot entered the Mistel into a dive at an angle of 30 degrees and disconnected the carrier. The bomber, packed with explosives and programmed, flew independently, and the fighter returned to base or served as an escort in the final phase of the raid.